Hello guys, welcome to my maths project by Ahmed Nadeem of grade 8B, and today I'll be showing you how to write fractions and decimals as percentages, write percentages as decimals and fractions, and writing an amount of percentage of another. Due to the limit of the time of 6 minutes, I have given each section 2 questions, and so let's get started. The first section is writing fractions and decimals as percentages. And the first question is 1 over 2. So equation is 1 over 2. So what we have to do is, in order to make any fraction into a percentage, you have to times it. You have to times it by 100 over 1. So timesing it by 100 over 1. So you can simplify the answer by dividing 2 by 2, which is 1, and dividing 100 divided by 2, which is 50. So next, what it is now we have to obviously times them and find the answer. So 50 times 1 is 50, and 1 times 1 is 1. The answer becomes 50% because you already have 50 over 1, which is basically 50. So 50% is the answer. 1 half equals 50%. Next is a decimal. Decimals are easy to do, and I'll show you how to do it. So let's rewrite this as 0.71. 0.71, it's simple. So basically you have to times it by 100. So if you have to times it by 100, you have to move the decimal point. Because there's 2 zeros in the 100, you have to move the decimal point 2 points forward. So 1, 2 becomes 71 in the end. So 71% is the answer because it's separate 71. So the next topic is write percentages as decimals and fractions. So this time I have 71% and 4%. Let's do 71% first, and we're gonna turn it into decimal. Fraction. So turning this into fraction, basically, it's really easy. Anything of a percentage is basically something over 100 or out of 100. So 71 out of 100 is the answer. That's pretty simple because a percentage is out of 100. So 71 out of 100. Now the fact is, if you can simplify it, in this case we can't simplify it, so that will be the answer. That's not only, you have to simplify it always, but if it can be possible. Next, we're going to turn 4% into a decimal. So right now it's 4 and there's a point in front of it. So to make it into a decimal, you have to divide it by 100, which is, you're going to move the decimal 1 and 2. Considering there's no number ahead of this in this space, it's going to be, the answer as a decimal is going to be 0.04. This is the answer right here, and it's only, you're adding a extra zero because there's this gap here. So if there's a gap and you keep on moving it, it becomes a 0. Last but definitely not least, next section will be write an amount of another, a percentage of another. So 10% of 30 is the first one, and the second question is 50% of 80. So we'll do the first one, 10% of 30. So basically it's finding out 10% of the 30. So a trick I use when I'm calculating these types of questions is find 10%. Now this is the question trying to find 10%. So how you do it is, to find 10% of any number, you just move the decimal point 1 down, so it becomes 3. Well, it's not great. So it moves 1 point here because there's 1 0, and it becomes 3. So 10% of 3 is actually 3. So that is already the answer. So if it was, example, 20% of 30, then you would times 10%, which is 3, by 2. So it will become 6. Moving on to the next question. is 50% of 80. So finding out 50% of 80, so this time you wouldn't use the trick that I used before, 10%, because it'll take you, there's a much more quicker way of doing it, and it's basically halving the number 80. Half of 80 is 40, so we know that 50% is 40. Now, considering that the answer is already there, this is a cool trick to have. So the answer is 40. So 50% of 80 is 40. So thank you for listening to my project, and bye bye, and have a good day. I have to pause this.